Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Thursday. Although it's not a Victoria 3 Happy Thursday, it will be a Civilization Happy Thursday because we will be going over Dev Diary number 2. We are playing a little bit of a catch-up here. You can see this was updated in December, but today we are going to be covering Leaders and Civs. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey, Civ fans. Sarah, your CM here with another Dev Diary. There was no happy salutation in there, but to be fair, we cannot admonish them because we don't know what happy day of the week it should have been when it was put out. So let's continue. Today we'll be diving into Leaders and Civs, two key ingredients in the Civilization franchise. Indeed it is. And who better to deal with the lead franchise than lead franchise producer Dennis Shirk, a Fireaxis veteran of more than 19 years. Take it away, Dennis. All right, Dennis, let's go. Hi everyone, Dennis here. Dennis Shirk here from. I feel like I'm missing a syllable. There's so many letters in that name, but it looks like it's one syllable. Dennis Shirk here from Fireaxis. Leaders and Civs hold a dear place in my heart, and I'm excited to detail some of our thinking when it comes to Civilization 7. I'll explain the process behind which leaders and Civs we selected to put in the game, discuss why we added the new mix and match feature, where you will kind of be swapping civilizations every age. There are 3 ages, outline what's new in Civilization 7, and provide a little bit of a look ahead. Let's get started. Indeed. Let's. How do we choose leaders and civs? The way we choose leaders and civs throughout the game has evolved over the years, and even more so for Civilization 7. To be fair, they did pull one from, Paradox's Millennia's book, in terms of you will be swapping as you go through the ages. Or was that in Humankind? I think it was actually in Humankind, where you get to pick a different civ every single age. In the old days, the selection process was often pretty loose. The designer... This is a different selection process. This is the designer selection process, not the player selection process. A designer might think, hey, this could be fun, and that would take in order for it to get into the game. As the franchise has grown and more players from around the world join the civ community, we have to rightfully be more thoughtful in which leaders and civs make the most sense for the game. They do not want over or under representation, I assume. They don't want 20 different European civs and only like 2 African civs or something like this. As far as I think that this is part of the motivation. And so typically, when we think about leaders and civs, along a few criteria. Historical prominence, we ask players to think about history. Oftentimes a few civilizations or figures from the past instantly rise to the top, like Genghis Khan. I don't know if there's ever been a civ game without Genghis Khan. I'm trying to think. I suppose I perhaps don't know the franchise super well, so the trivia on which leaders have always been in the game, but he certainly is striking as the most prominent, as having the second largest empire ever in history. Leaders and empires who left a lasting mark on the world and were always at large and are always strong candidates. Player representation, particularly in the last decade. Definitely seeing this a lot more with Civ 5 and 6. Both the community and our ability to connect from players around the world has grown immensely. Representation is deeply important to many Civ players, especially those in areas that have been traditionally underrepresented. So we see kind of in Civ 5 and 6 a lot more density of non-European civilizations kind of popping up as playable civs. Interesting gameplay. Naturally, leaders and civs have to be fun to play. We think about people who carved out particularly interesting paths throughout history, like Genghis Khan, his path of blood, and civilizations who have high potential for unique gameplay. Okay, the selection process has changed quite a bit throughout some of the new features we're bringing to Civilization 7. 2 things in particular change our internal calculus: ages and the ability to mix and match leaders and civs. So now they need to kind of have a path that makes sense, and we did see that kind of in the last one. Why don't we show this off by taking a look at ages? We saw this last week in last week's Dev Diary, of course, which was several weeks ago, but you can see here Hatshepsut, starting as Egypt, can form Mongolia later, but since they went Abbasid, they have a kind of progression towards Buganda, and there will be other options available, but they didn't tease that to us. So that's what we saw last week, and so we saw that there are certainly some paths that make sense. We also saw, I believe, here Rome progressing to Norman, and Norman, of course, we know would likely be able to split into English as well, but here they split into French, and so we will have this kind of trajectory where we are sensitive to the fact that cultures that are maybe adjacent to each other will maybe have branching trees that they share kind of civilizations with. As Ed previously outlined, shout out to Ed, ages split history into distinct playable chapters, and every civ is unique to its age. So you will not be able to play civs across the entirety of all ages. Instead, you will have to, they will only be present in one age. This is a little bit interesting. Also, in some sense, makes a lot of sense because most civilizations have not been present throughout all of history, and they definitely tend to have particular time periods in which they have been dominant or prominent. The United States comes to mind. They shouldn't really be present in either of the two earlier ages, and only in the modern age should they be present. And so in some sense, this is kind of an improvement on realism, but changing the identity is maybe something that will be a bit contentious and players won't enjoy. We'll see. One of the direct results of the system is we can now go deeper with civilizations. That is, you can be a little bit more targeted. Well, let's see what they mean. Instead of a civ needing to meet a bar of having historical prominence across all of history, now we can apply the thinking just to that one age, which we know ages have their own individual mechanics. Axum or Maria, India are good examples of this, cultures that were particularly prominent during a specific slice of history. With the ability to mix and match leaders and civs, we've decoupled what was traditionally a package deal. This is particularly liberating because in the past, leaders essentially needed to be the most popular or well-known figure from their respective civ, which often meant focusing on a ruler, kings and queens, president, or some other political figure of that particular nation. And now, the fact that the leader is divorced from which civilization you have, this means that you don't have to, if you want to have the United States, this would mean you would have to have a United States president as the leader, and you can't just, pick a bunch of prominent civilizations that maybe don't have the most prominent leaders and have them as civilizations. Instead, you would need to, on top of that, also pick a leader from that civilization. Now in Civilization 7, great figures of philosophy, human rights, and science are now elevated to leader status, such as Confucius and Benjamin Franklin. Oh, that's fantastic. Why don't we click on Confucius, see what he says. We do have a little bit of a Confucius, or Fu-Si. Why don't we just take a little bit of a watch here, except we're going to get an ad? No, we're not. All right.
A prolific philosopher from 6th century BCE China, Confucius dedicated his life to promoting social harmony through moral values and effective governance.
Okay.
To quote him, "The mechanic that would perfect his work must first sharpen his tools."
This is true. Wu Wei. Effortless action. Let's go.
His harmonious tact sings in his leader design, focused squarely on infrastructure and happiness at home.
This sounds very Confucian.
As Confucius, you're best suited to building massive cities at a fast pace, and then putting your citizens to work to advance your society's
That's also very on
collective
flavor.
knowledge. So consider pairing Confucius with the Han Civ in the Antiquity Age to grow your population quickly, and reap major science rewards should you convert to the Ming Civ in the Exploration Age. Or choose a different path all your own. But whatever
Very
you
interesting.
build, remember, to build something you believe in.
Aww. I believe in Confucianism. Okay, so we will continue on. Confucianism, Ben Franklin. There's so many philosophers. I have a degree in philosophy. There's a lot of philosophers I would love to see, as leaders. So this is also very exciting as well here. We do see Napoleon next to Napoleon. If there was ever a man who wanted to be beside himself, to be with himself, it might have been Napoleon, except we don't know a lot about Napoleon, so we really shouldn't make Napoleon jokes. Yeah. There are, of course, personas. Many historical leaders and civilizations had complex, multifaceted histories. We've introduced personas in Civilization 6 as a way to acknowledge historical figures that have ties to different civilizations. For example, there is Victoria and then Victoria Age of Steam in Civilization 6, or those who excelled in two unique and important areas of statecraft. There was also Eleanor of Aquitaine, who could be played both France and also as England, Personas return in Civilization 7 with a stronger focus on the latter, as well as the ability to mix and match leaders, and Civs inherently covers the former. Every Persona comes fully equipped with their own unique feature set as a leader, a unique persona and agenda, as well as distinct outfit and background. Everyone knows we do love playing dress up. We love the outfits. One example in Civilization 7 is Napoleon, who can be played either as his emperor or as revolutionary persona, reflecting the periods of time of his life during the French Revolution and his subsequent reign as ruler. So we see one of these is going to be revolutionary and one of these is going to be emperor. I'm not sure which is which. I suppose this is the gaudier outfit, so we assume that's emperor and this is revolutionary Napoleon. The last thing I'll note is that leaders in Civs aren't selected by a single person or even department here at the studio. It's a wholly collaborative effort across the entire team. We take in considerations from the art team, historians, designers, and even the loud cars outside. Everyone plays a part in shaping the roster by bringing in their unique perspectives. It truly takes a village to bring leaders and Civs to life. That does make sense. Here we do see Confucius, and we also see big old Ben. Why mix and match, though? One of the most... Well, the thing that immediately comes to mind is replayability, because if you're mixing and matching different modifiers and this type of stuff, especially when the game comes out, there's going to be a lot of exploration as people try and figure out what's good, and having to try all these different things is going to be so exciting. It's one of the reasons that... So games are often the most interesting when they come out and they are completely unsolved and everyone's trying to figure out the meta. In terms of if you enjoy unpacking games and figuring out games as an aspect of the gameplay, which I really do enjoy. And so the fact that you have all these different possibilities to try and, theory craft and think through is just super, super exciting, especially if, if there's thousands of different combinations in total, right? Which I'm not saying Civ will have this, but if the more combinations there are, the more opportunities there is to also just dig for hidden gems and just be like, you know what, the community is just wrong about this. This isn't how it works. This isn't the metagame. And instead, this is actually going to be better because of XYZ thing. Always really cool when that's something that you can do and something you can look for, and you can try and examine these things rather than having a clearly defined meta. And so the more mixing and matching you can do, generally this creates more options. Of course, there probably will be something that's most effective, but we also expect, you sometimes pick certain civs because you have a certain geographical condition, and when you have conditional metas, that's when games are very exciting from a decision-making standpoint. So super excited that this is a potential rather than just being like, we're playing Australia, I hope we rule kangaroo resources, otherwise we're going to be in trouble, type of thing. One of the more notable features in Civ 7 is the ability to mix and match leaders and civs. I mentioned a bit about the rationale above, but I wanted to expand a bit more on our thought process. A major reason for adding mix and match was to support ages. In past games, you always played the same leader and civ combo throughout the entire game. Yes, with your empire being represented across represented by multiple different civs across a full campaign of Civilization 7, we needed to make sure that players still had a strong, cohesive sense of who they are playing as and against. They definitely create a persona kind of with the character, having leaders and such. Paradox games, you play as like the spirit of the nation, much more amorphous. I think if there was a way to create like a personality attached, this would probably make Paradox games maybe more accessible to a wider audience, but that also is maybe not the purpose of Paradox games. But I do think that feeling like you're playing as someone is something that definitely adds to the experience in a role-play sort of way. With ages, we thought about several different approaches on how we could handle Civs and Leaders. This included the idea of switching leaders per age, as well as designing stacks where every civilization, where every civ would be like what we had for India, Maurya to Chola to Mughal. So this is the India chain that you could branch off from, but fundamentally you would also just be able to play as India all throughout. Each of these options fell short in different ways. We were convinced that swapping leaders would be particularly confusing to understand who you were playing with. That's definitely true, because I guess the thing that would be consistent would be the colors of the civilization. Shout out to colorblind people. I have a friend who's colorblind. And so I guess that would be the only thing distinguishing if both the civilization and character were changing. Players often say that they're making alliances or waging war against Cleopatra, Gandhi, or Montezuma, not Egypt, India, or the Aztecs. This is because we kind of tend to focus on people. And if the leader changes mid-game, that narrative inside the player's head might be disruptive. Sensible. In a similar vein, only choosing civilizations that have full stack as a direct historical lineage would mean that we'd be greatly limited in who we'd consider for Civilization 7. You would only be able to pick civs that whose past spans entirety of history, which means no America, unless you like branched from like Britain to or England to America, just like directly. Like so, in the Middle Age, you play England, so you go like Rome, England, America, or something like this. That brings us back to why mix and match, and in some sense, why ages. Through this feature, we were able to make sure you maintain a strong sense of identity for your empire, your friends, and your rivals on the world stage, because you have a constant leader. Creating historical pathways instead of a strict empire stack provides more replayability, which we of course love, and allows us to represent a more diverse set of cultures. Excuse me. We're able to expand leaders into new categories, shining a spotlight on figures who contributed to humanity in many ways that many players will be discovering for the first time. Man, if there's a Hannibal or a Nietzsche character, we're just going to be like, or Leonardo da Vinci, we're just going to be playing only that for like forever, unless there's two of them, and then we'll have choices. And of course, strategy. Every leader has a unique playstyle. Some like to, drive loud, fast cars outside past the house, and you'll be able to blend that playstyle with the unique traits of each civilization during the age. Okay, so what's new for Civilization 7? Now that we've gone through structural and categorical changes, let's go through the actual components of leaders and civs. As we've mentioned before, every civ is tied to a specific age, and you get to experience the civ at the height of its power. Each civ comes equipped with the unique ability, unique infrastructure, unique civic tree, an associated wonder, unique units, both civilian and military, and typically starting location start biases. So this will matter at least towards the start. That is a ton of unique stuff with which to layer with, of course, all the base units, all the base civics, all the base wonders, and all this type of stuff in terms of informing decision making. Combined together, these nudge a civ into a certain playstyle categorized across military, diplomacy, expansion, science, culture, and economy, which of course are categories that we have seen a little bit in Civilization already. Expansion kind of feels a little bit more like food, or a combination of food and construction. Or construction is production. With Vic 3 brain pilled. We see diplomacy, we see culture, science and military, kind of their own things. I guess diplomacy is maybe something that we've seen. We don't see a resource for diplomacy other than Diplo points in Civ 6, but we see cultural points. And then economy, of course, gold. Everyone loves them. Ducats, buckets of ducats, if you will. And so let's continue. For example, Han China is an antiquity age civilization. As you complete Han's unique civic tree, you can unlock the Guangxi Jinqing or the Tianxia traditions, each of these being able to slot into your social policies for your empire in future ages, regardless of which civ you choose. So we will have the imprint of who we have played before kind of carry on with us. Han China has unique infrastructure in the Great Wall, a unique improvement. In contrast, Rome's unique infrastructure comes in the form of the unique quarter, the Forum, which is created when combining Rome's two unique buildings, the Templar of Jupiter and the Basilica, together in a single district. Unique infrastructure like the Great Wall and the Roman Forum are ageless, meaning their effects last across all ages, and you cannot build over these structures, which is maybe a good or a bad thing. Well, the fact that you are getting their bonus constantly is going to be good, I suppose, but then you can't build over them is maybe bad. Although if the bonus is so good, then you would not want to build over them anyways. Unique civilian units come in different styles as well. China's Shi Dafu is a mini great people system. Each Shi Dafu provides a different reward, is received only once, and increases its cost. Makes some sense. Meier's Jaguar Slayer, on the other hand, replaces the scout and gives the unit the power to create invisible trap on vegetated tiles to damage enemy units in their movement. And end their movement, rather. Every Civ has an associated wonder, giving them the ability to unlock the wonder earlier through their unique civic tree and production bonus when building it. Oh, that's associated wonder in addition to... is that in addition to having a unique wonder, or is that the unique thing that we are associated with, giving us an advantage for building it, but not locking it out from other civilizations? These wonders are not unique to the Civ, though. There we go. Wait too long to build the associated wonder, and you may find that another player has scooped you. We hate it when that happens. Although, I'm curious to see how they're handling the AI, because here's the thing. That I don't like about Civilization 6 is the AI is generally very weak, and part of this has to do with the fact that they tactically really suck at wars, and so they have to juice up the AI. The AI is really weak. The way that they fix this is by giving the AI a whole bunch of bonuses so that it's not symmetric. So they get like 80% more production, gold, food, all these types of things than you, the player, do, and it's just this flat bonus, which often means you are kind of cut out from getting early wonders in Civilization 6, which is a little bit of a bummer, and one of the reasons why I wish that they take out the tactical system that is present in Civ 6. I'm not sure exactly how the military system is in Civ 7 yet, but taking out the tactical system means that you, the player, do not gain a skill expression advantage over the AI in that particular sphere, which means that the AI is then made stronger, or it has less of a disadvantage as a result of military. But we'll see how that shakes out. For leaders, each comes packaged with the unique ability agenda and occasional starting bias. Again, nudging their play style into one of the above mentioned categories. So let's say, you're oriented towards, you have a bonus for docks, and you're oriented towards, an economy play style. Let's say you're Portugal, maybe this makes sense for Portugal, then we would see a bias towards appearing on the coast, something like this. In Civilization 7, the AI will always pair leaders and civs with their closest ideal choice, typically determined by historical or geographical ties. You will see these options as well in the form of a portrait icon when starting a new game, but thanks to mix and match functionality, you can freely choose which leader and civs you want to pair together. So I assume you will be able to, at some point, change the settings so the AI won't always try and pair together, like in a more historical way. If you're playing more for strategy rather than historical immersion, you'll typically want to match a leader's playstyle to the Civ's playstyle, which makes sense. And here we see leader attribute, and we see economic 1, cultural 1, and who is it we're looking at? Is this Hatshepsut? We see that we have additional wildcard points and also a little bit of a tree where we are going to be getting culture. And so this is part of our cultural... Well, we're in the cultural tab, so this makes sense. Okay. Something new to Civilization 7 is the leader's attribute systems. Attributes offer a way to customize your leader further. During the course of the game, split into 6 categories: cultural, diplomatic, economic, expansionist, militaristic, and scientific. Your leaders and civs have different strengths, and in these categories determining the affinity you have towards earning certain attribute points with gameplay, and you'll be able to spend these on your attribute skill trees that make your leader stronger. For example, Augustus has a strong focus on culture, so you'll find yourself having more chances to earn cultural attribute points. Makes sense. Importantly, attributes and their bonuses persist across ages, ensuring that while your empire grows across time, so too does your leader. Attribute points can be earned across a variety of gameplay actions, building wonders, researching certain civics, completing certain narrative events, and as rewards for finishing milestones along victory paths. Very cool. So let's see if we can take a closer look at this. If we can get a little bit of a zoom, we can. And we see we get +1 culture per age along the palace and city halls. Okay, that makes sense. We see plus production towards wonders, extra civics towards studying civic masteries, Cultural settlements in each resource assigned to them, plus 10% culture in cities with at least one wonder, notably after the wonder in terms of the tree, which is going to play nicely into each other, plus 1 culture per age from great works on display. Very cool, very cool. So, man, I'm left reeling a little bit. That's not something that we're used to, thinking of leader attributes and skill points. That is fascinating. I don't know entirely what to make of that. It is going to give more replayability. I imagine that certain trees are generally going to be more powerful, but this is something that they can change and buff and nerf. If they see people always take wonder production, you can just change the numbers. You can lower the number until people are picking kind of both or this type of thing. And this could make it such that, you know, across some playthroughs you'll want to do one playstyle, and across some others you'll want to do another. Like, let's say you have a really good opportunity to build a couple particular wonders. Maybe you go the wonder path, but maybe under more circumstances you go the cultural path, something like this. Okay. A look ahead. Do let's. Leaders and civics are crucial elements to the Civilization franchise, and I'm incredibly excited for players to experience them, each of them, in Civilization 7. Through ages and features like civ swapping and mix and match, we'll be able to go wider and deeper with civs and leaders than we've ever done before. We use the 2 words every strategy gamer loves: wide and deep. We're playing wide, we're playing deep, we're playing both. For a look ahead on next Dev Diary, we're going to be tackling a topic that core Civ fans have been dying to know more information about: empire management. We'll be detailing how everything from cities look, populations, yields, what a warehouse building is, overbuilding, and more. There's no such thing as overbuilding, lies, and slander. If you have any questions, please continue to share your feedback and thoughts across our social media channels, and as always, thanks for being the best fans in gaming, the very best. Napoleon Emperor is available as bonus content for players that received that link a 2K account to the platform used to play Civilization 7. Internet connection required, 2K accounts free, etc., blah, blah, blah. Napoleon Revolutionary available as blah, blah, blah. In-game, void where prohibited. As always, terms and conditions apply. For more, read here. We were elected to lead, not to read, which is why we have for ourselves, kind of a nice little dev diary on leaders and civics. This is very exciting, especially, eventually. So 2 things in my mind that are extremely excited. First of all is that we can have a difference. We could have people that are like philosophers, human rights scientists are now possible to play as leaders, like the example that we saw of Confucius. We saw a little bit of a video for him. That to me is really exciting, and so is the fact that we now have this, which is not something we've had before, where you are going to be having a leveling up and a skill tree and this type of thing, really kind of making you identify more with the personal character you're playing, while also being divorced from the ages and civilizations being divorced from your leader. And so this is, I think this seems like a fantastic change, but also kind of a lot to take in, because this is something that's a lot different. This isn't what I think about when I think of Civs, so I'll need to chew on this one a little bit. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. We are going to be playing, some Civilization when it comes out on February 11th. We're going to be streaming all day. We are going to be continuing to cover these Dev Diaries, and so look out to that if you're interested in, click the notification bell. Rawr. And other than that, have a good one.